Hey YouTube, it is league turnover today, and I have to imagine that 95% of you will be playing Holiday Cup Great League like I will be playing. So if you want chop teams for that, check out the video this morning. I'll link it above, and you can go check out my videos. For the 5% of you who are playing Master League, you probably have a better idea of the Master League teams, best teams, more than I do. But what I'm going to quickly do in this video is look at the Pokemon that got raised and got nerfed in the Master League. And let's just start with the nerf because the nerf is an obvious one. Breaking Swipe. So there's two Pokemon, maybe three if you consider Haxorus, that were somewhat viable in the open Master League that just took a huge hit. Rayquaza, Rhyperior, and Haxorus. So with Rayquaza, I think this is the one that gets the most obvious nerf out of the three. Haxorus to a certain extent too. But Rayquaza was just one of those where it was so glassy, but that glassiness you could overcome. This is a hundo that I actually have, so I can actually talk to this. It was one that when you used it in neutral to good matchups, it was just being able to Dragon Tail with that much damage and then Breaking Swipe, lowering your opponent's attack guaranteed. You, for most scenarios, were just able to overpower. But the problem is you are super, super glassy. So if you are not getting that attack fall, it's just going to flip a bunch of matchups. So now Breaking Swipe only having a 50% chance of happening makes Rayquaza much, much, much worse. If I went over in the Steelix video earlier this week for Ultra League, is Steelix worse in Ultra League? And the answer is depends, right? Because Steelix in the Ultra League has a ton of bulk. It's got a good steel typing in the Ultra League. So between the bulk and the typing, even if you only get it 50% of the time, it's not bad, right? Because you can still, for the most part, last long enough to maybe land it like 3 or 4 times. So if you get 50% of the time it going down, you're still okay. That's not the same for Rayquaza. If you do not get this Breaking Swipe on the first one, you're in trouble. So that is why I think Rayquaza is a huge downgrade in the Master League. Haxorus to a certain extent too. Same sort of philosophy. Haxorus is just like too glassy. You kind of need that lowering of the attack. Rhyperior is one where I would argue it doesn't affect it as much. I think with Rhyperior, what you're using it for is the Mud Slap answer, which actually got buffed this season. Did Mud Slap get buffed? I think Mud Slap got buffed this season. So what you're actually using it for is the Mud Slap, the damage to the steals, in particular to Dialga, right? So Breaking Swipe, even if is like a non-stab, stuff like that. Like if you're going to go for an actual move on a Pokemon, the majority of the time you're probably running with Rock Wrecker, right? A nice stab, hard-hitting rock move, as opposed to Breaking Swipe. So Breaking Swipe was just kind of like a nice add-on. I think people did use it to just lower your attack and just like Mud Slap down, but I don't think with Rhyperior it's gonna affect it as much as it would Rayquaza. So those are the nerfs. The obvious buffs here are Incinerate, and there's a few of them, well, one of them that actually matter, and that's Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh was always like strong in this meta, right? Sacred Fire, I haven't used this in a while. Sacred Fire lowers your opponent's attack, I believe. So being able to incinerate with a ton of damage, still having that Brave Bird nuke, and then the Sacred Fire is just a really nice combo. So up to number 6 on the rankings here. If we look at the matchups, like you're gonna lose to the waters. Dragons are always gonna be an issue, right? Because buffed or not, your fire is still resisted. But where it's gonna start to matter is like that extra incinerate damage is now gonna come into play in these like little flips here, and like the Dialga, Landora, stuff like that, where it's like kind of a close matchup that you're now flipping. So I think it is definitely a huge upgrade. The incinerate damage you probably can't even what you don't see is like if you get into like neutral matchups where you get like an extra incinerate through, like that extra 5 damage on some of these Pokemon is going to be very nice. So I think Ho is a huge upgrade. Someone mentioned, let me just quickly look at the rankings. Someone said there are secondary effects on, what was it, Solgaleo? Yes, Solgaleo because of Fire Spin, not because of um, Incinerate. And there's two Pokemon that have Fire Spin, right? So there's two fire moves that got buffed this season. I know everyone's all in on Incinerate, but Fire Spin got buffed. So Heatran, I think, is the worst version of the fire Pokemon that you want to use compared to Ho-Oh and compared to um, Solgaleo. Solgaleo is not a fire, though. It is a psychic steel, but it does have a couple fire moves, right? It has Fire Spin as the main move you're using, and then you can either go one of these four: Psychic Fangs, Iron Head, Flamethrower, Solar Beam. I think Psychic Fangs, Iron Head is the moveset of choice. And that makes sense, right? Because Psychic Fangs lowers the defense, and Iron Head is just for the fairies, right? There's no real point of using fire because there's so in Master League there's so many dragons. There's no real reason to use fire. There's a reason to use Iron Head because there's a ton of fairies. Again, Solar Beam, non-stab, no real reason to use it. You might as well just use the stab, steel, and psychic moves in Psychic Fangs and Iron Head. Iron Head, I think, is the move that you're probably going to be using the majority of the time. But to now be able to lower your opponent's defense and do a little more damage with Fire Spin is just a nice little combo to kick it up a little bit. Right? So Psychic Steel, I know a lot of people like using this Pokemon because it is a nice answer for the fairies in particular. So if we look at Open Great League, 2016 record, again, some of these ground, fire, right, stuff you're weak to, just water just gonna overpower you. But then you go down to here at the bottom here, and this is what you love to see: Zacian, Xerneas, all these Pokemon plus Dialga, right? So having a Dialga with like being able to hit a little harder on Dialga, being able just to dominate the fairies makes this a really strong Pokemon that I know a lot of people want to use. And like I said, you can, if you want to get spicy, use Heatran, but I don't think that's going to be the majority of Pokemon, right? So upgrade for Ho-Oh, upgrade for Solgaleo, downgrade for Rayquaza. I think a downgrade for Rhyperior, but again, that was sort of, I don't think it's as big as a downgrade because of the Mud Slap boost. So I think that probably ends up being like sort of a wash. And I think those are the main moves that affect Master League. I don't think there's really anything else. And realistically, you're not going down to level 40. Unfortunately, if you play Master League before, you know that is very, very, very concentrated with like 12 Pokemon. So now you'll probably just see a few more Ho-Hos and Solgaleos. But yeah, and a little less Rayquazas. But for the most part, you're seeing all the regular stuff: Palkia, Lugia, Dialga, Yveltal, Landorus. Now you're getting into the 30s, so it's a little less likely around here. It's basically just like the top 20 rankings, unfortunately. That's how the Master League is. But that is it. Again, I think the majority of you will be playing the Great League Cup. So go check out that video. If you're playing Master League, let me know how it goes. But I gotta imagine that the majority of people will be with me in Holiday Cup. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.